the the plight of that black man, when I say it's a group narrative, it's a narrative that society has. And society acts as the five friends. So that narrative plays out and continues and continues and continues. And it's not contained unless one removes themselves from the group, from the five friends. Then you can contain the narrative and look at the narrative for just that it is a narrative. However, if you're wrapped up in the group, then you become a part of the narrative. And being a part of the narrative is, well, let's listen to some more hip hop. Let's listen to some more rap. Let's listen to some television programs that denigrate blacks. Let's read Yahoo comments section and look at the narratives that are there that talk negatively about blacks. Let's watch some World Star Hip Hop where the videos that are there are of blacks being bad to other blacks, treating blacks foul. How that narrative continues and picks up steam. And then that becomes this process called the black culture. So how does one stop that process called the black culture? Removing themselves from the narrative, believing and understanding that the narrative is a lie, that these songs that we listen to that are laced with this nursery rhyme that depicts blacks in a negative light goes into one's subconscious. It's the whole hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock struck 12. It's that nursery rhyme that we visualize. Hickory dickory dock, you see it. The mouse ran up the clock. You see that mouse running up the clock because it's in your head. There is no different from rap songs that we listen to 4 and 5 and 6 times till we begin to know the words, and then those words, as simplistic as they are, go into one's subconscious. And then the five friends with the rap artists, the black culture, well, we're watching those videos. Well, we're watching the rap artists. So now the kids start to emulate the rap artists, the hip hop stars, the athletes, the actor, the lottery. And then that, again, the black culture. Nowhere in there, in none of the rap songs, hip hop songs, very few actors on television that are black, where does the interjection of school come in? It doesn't. Where does the interjection of being a business owner come in? It doesn't. But the injection of getting you an AK or AR-15 and blasting that nigga comes in, because that becomes the narrative in those songs. songs that we listen to 4 and 5 times, that we listen to as adults 4 and 5 times loud, and the kids that are in the room can't get up and walk out, or the kids that are in the car can't say, "Can you please turn that off?" Now they become a part of that group, and there's no escaping that. And it only continues to perpetuate and grow. So it's a group situation that continues to grow because the focus is that of the five friends, betas, the weakest link, and the lies that your subconscious plays out, which all bear how. Whereas a kid, there is no how. As a kid, as a child, playing by the child self, without any adults in the room, kids don't have how in their vocabulary. I'm gonna be a doctor, a race car driver. I'm gonna be an astronaut, a physicist. I'm gonna be the president. Then the whole narrative come in from the adults. And whether it's not the narrative that's verbally spoken that says, well, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. If it's not that narrative, it's the music that the adults play. It's the five friends: music, television, news, brothers and sisters. It's that narrative that stops the progression of the child that says, I want to be a doctor. And even if the parent says, well, okay, yes, Zoe, you want to be a doctor? I know you're going to be an amazing doctor. Okay. And then they put on hip hop for 4 hours out of the day. And the hip hop is laced with nigger this, bitch that, shoot that nigga for this, drink that, smoke this blunt, do all. It's laced with that, and then that narrative goes into the kid's subconscious, and it replaces the nursery rhymes that the kids used to listen to. Yeah, sometimes at school, I'm sure those nursery rhymes exist. But now, at home, they're replaced with the five friends, and it stops that. It creates the how. Even if the parent doesn't even know it, even if the parent is unconscious of it, that's what's happening. And that keeps the process going. And the process doesn't stop. It's not gonna stop. It's on television shows. That narrative for the black culture, to keep the black culture down, it's on the television shows, it's in the radio, it's on the news, it's hip hop stars, it's actors, actresses, it's sports athletes, it's all of that. It's the drug dealers on the corner, it's all of that keeps it going. And the only way to stop it is to unplug yourself from the group, from the narrative. And unplugging yourself means turning off the television, turning off the radio, not watching the news, not watching anything that's derogatory. And by all means, shield your child from the television. Don't put your child in front of the television to let your television raise your child. But that's what people do. Well, I just don't have time because I got to go over here and do this. That is not important. Your child is important. Because when you say, I got to go over here and do this, so I'm going to put your child right, I'm going to put my child right in front of the television, you just put your child right in front of how? So, and if you're not selective with what your kid watches, how becomes unbelievable. How becomes, whoa. How becomes as simplistic as you putting your child in front of the television and the show that they're watching has nothing to do with the positive aspects of their culture, has nothing to do with the ability of your child going to school and or bettering themselves. If that doesn't exist when you put your child in front of that television, you're putting your child in front of a how, and you're creating a situation that you, even though you're positive, you're gonna have to try and fix later. If you want your child to be a doctor, if your child wants to be a doctor. So, understanding how it's created, having the courage to stop its momentum, if not for your entire family, it can be for your pod, your immediate family. Your immediate family is only as strong as its weakest link. So everybody has to be on the same positive climb to better oneself, to change the narrative. It's possible. We just have to unplug to make it possible, to do it. It's virtually, I don't want to say impossible, but it's virtually impossible to attain, I believe, greatness plugged into that narrative. And if it is possible to attain greatness without the assistance of a lottery ticket, and when I mean a lottery ticket, well, you got a scholarship for athletic abilities and you only make it to your second year, you got hurt. Now what are you going to do? Or you make it into the NFL or to the NBA, but you don't have any aptitude for finance because while you were in college, you didn't go to any of your classes because it was just programmed that way. You're an athlete. Or, and this is what generally happens, that whole lottery ticket of athletes, high school athletes that believe they are going to attain greatness in whatever professional sport, and they get hurt. And they don't have any backup plans. And while they were going through high school and college or just high school, and everyone around them were telling them that they were great, they were promiscuous. Let's just say. And sometimes if it's a male, they have, and I don't want to stereotype, but they have kids. Mm-hmm. A lot of kids sometimes. Mm-hmm. 3, 4 different girls. Then they get hurt. Mm-hmm. Now they got 3, 4 kids, 3, 4 baby mamas, and they're hurt. And they can't go into the profession that everyone told them that they can go into as a child. This is the lottery ticket. So now, what does that hurt person with 3 and 4 kids do with 3 and 4 baby mamas? What do? They got their hip hop. They're listening to that. Are they going to school? Then they get into the system.
Okay. But they don't know how to do other stuff.
Because nobody showed them, because the narrative
was okay being
The lottery ticket narrative.
a sports person.
It's
That's all who you are.
it's the how. As a parent, if your child says, I want to be a football player,
Mm-hmm.
by all means, encourage that if your child wants to do that. However, you go and get straight A's in the process of you being this football athlete. Don't think that you are relying on football. That's not what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So as a parent, you have to be vigilant enough to provide that tutelage, as well as encourage them with that sport.
Mm-hmm.
But education must be first in order to unplug from the narrative, to stop this process that we currently call the black culture.
So stop the implicit attitudes that the culture has.
The implicit attitudes, the cognitive bias, the subconscious, it's all created by us.
So that's the narrative.
It's a narrative. It's in every. It's in.
So it's like a written already, like, it's like the same narrative, right? Each culture has the same narrative.
Each culture has the same narrative for the black culture.
No, I mean for what's supposed to be.
For their own particular culture.
For their own culture, for other cultures. It's like it's already kind of written, so
It's
unless somebody has like a different mind frame and teaches that.
it's yes, it's written, and in certain aspects it's expected when anybody sees a different nationality other than their own. I mean, when they see a nationality, they automatically form these implicit and explicit attitudes that tells you that it's okay for, let's say, if you're dining out at a restaurant and the waiter sees that you're black and the waiter says, "Hey man," they adjust their vernacular so that there's some slang in there, because they feel that would enhance the relationship between you and your server, when that shouldn't be the case. That narrative shouldn't be there. That process is wrong. It shouldn't. That should not exist.
See, but those attitudes are because that was ingrained in them. Right?
Those
Implicit attitudes of all the people that they surround themselves with.
Imagine if it's
society.
caught. Yes, imagine if it's caught early on, identified from the point where the parent says, okay, my child wants to be a doctor, I'm going to remove the how from it. In fact, I'm going to work on myself so that I remove all the negative thoughts that I have, and I become a person with a growth mindset, that all things are possible. If it's caught early on, initially, then your child would grow up with a different thought process. Therefore, the cycle changes and the narrative changes. But until that happens, and dare I say, the situation, the process is the process. However, it can happen. It's essential to surround yourself with positive people. And if you don't have positive people to surround yourself with no one. Find positive influences online, on the internet. Positive people that can potentially be role models without them being physically in your presence. Emulate positive people. Do what positive people do. That would change this process. People are so wrapped up into the social aspect of things that they think that they need to do these things to fit in when actually they don't. It's contributing to the process. And we're going so fast at this process, we have no clue what the outcome in many cases will be because we're moving so fast. Technology is zooming. So being cognizant to recognize and implement change is vital, especially now. Especially now. That it's the only black in the room. The solution is the only black in the room. The only black in a room will detail problems, situations, and provide solutions. Not only for your child, but for the parents, for the group, for the collective whole.
Right, it doesn't just have to be black people.
It's the only black in a room is a societal issue that has not been addressed.
Like the root cause.
The root cause hasn't been addressed because people see the messenger and they don't hear the message. When a black person says, "This is my plight as an American in America," generally the person that they're talking to, if that person isn't black, only sees the messenger, and that messenger will lose points based off of the person's implicit attitudes or cognitive bias or subconscious. So the black person that's talking to the person that they're saying, "My life here in America has been plagued with this, just this." A lot of times the person that they're talking to says, "Oh, here we go again, the race card. Wow, oh my God, would they ever stop with this race card?" And because they say that, will they ever stop with the race card? I can't believe, again, they miss the person's message.
Because
They're not hearing the message. They're only seeing the messenger. And then now that messenger becomes all the black people that they see, because the message they think is the same.
Well, the simplicity attitudes, right? Already.
It's
already like kind of like society is preventing them from really listening.
Society is doing what?
I said society with its implicit attitudes is already preventing people to really actually listen.
Yes.
Because it prevents them from thinking. It's just
society's ability to stifle the message that the black man is trying to say about the plight now. Society says, look at the rappers though. Well, yeah, I know, but look at those people selling drugs. And then the news says, but look at these people breaking into stuff and killing everybody. And then go to Chicago. Look how violent they are in Chicago. And go to St. Louis, go to Ohio, see how violent they are. Oh my God. And that message doesn't just stop at that race or that race that's not black. It filters into the black race, and then that becomes the narrative and the implicit attitudes that black have towards blacks.
somewhere along there, blacks don't see like the lesson.
Don't see the lesson?
I mean, don't see that they're fighting each other. Like, it's just like they don't see what the root cause is, I guess. I don't know.
Yes. I would say that
I mean,
just for me, what keeps the narrative going within the black culture has a lot to do with the influences that we have, the role models that we have, the music that we listen to, the stereotypes that's perpetuated on television, on the news, in the media, pop culture. That makes and creates this illusion for blacks to treat other blacks this way. When it's a lie. When you have a rap video where they're showing kids with guns talking about killing another kid that's the same color, then that false process of entertainment becomes reality. Because they try and emulate, the young people try to emulate these videos, the gangs with the money flashing on the videos and the guns, and so they try to emulate that.
They don't know it's wrong.
Because their parents is showing it to them. And if it's not their parents, their big brothers and their big sisters and their cousins and their aunts and their uncles, their babysitters, the block, the neighborhood is showing that this is how it is, when it's not.
Right.
It's not.
So it's actually starting from the kid then.
It's
Where's Lucas? You gotta start.
The Only Black in a Room, the book. And the implicit attitudes, only black in a room, shows the process. It shows from a child how essential it is for the parents to remove their how for the sake of their kids, to remove whatever makeshift tradition with this music, the television, the friends, fire friends. Eliminate toxic people in your life. Even if the toxic people are family members, eliminate them. Put yourself on a remote island, like your survival depended on it, on bettering your situation, so your situation can change. And then once your situation changes and you have strength, your conversation will change. And once your conversation changes, your thought process changes, now you're in a position to help others change. Outside of that, you're a crab in a barrel. And there won't be any change. Just a continuation of this cycle.